Okay, Stephen. Thanks for being here today.
You my doctor? Tell me, do I have it?
So, just did a couple deep breaths. We're gonna check your reflexes.
Will you tip that clipboard towards me so I can see what you're looking at?
Wouldn't that be funny if when the doctor tipped the clipboard, it wasn't like a medical chart; it was just like a drawing. Like, this guy stinks.
Crossword. Sudoku puzzle.
Yeah. Hey, what are you filling out over there? My chart? It's just
It's actually a drawing of a hippopotamus.
you started in Syracuse, and
Yes.
you how far in then did you move to New York? 5 years in?
4.5. Uh, yeah, I
You think it
remember.
was the right move?
What? What'd you say?
Think it was the right move?
Yeah, nothing bad's happened since I've left at
Good,
all.
good. Like, oh, you saying like, I think that you left Syracuse like undefended or something? Like, I just meant, do you think it was beneficial?
I wasn't sworn protector.
Right? Yeah. Well, since I've left, the city's been able to cope. Um.
Actually, the scene, the comedy scene, as soon as I left, I would say maybe a month or so after I was gone, had rapidly started to die. And
Oh,
I don't think it's anything to do with me, but I think a few of the comics that lived in Syracuse that would work regularly and do shows locally, not just at the club. One moved to Baltimore, and I moved to New York, and I think another one moved to California, and comedy went straight down after that.
it's always fun to look back at your old scene and see what's going on.
Yeah,
It's
it's like those movies where they're walking away from the explosion.
yeah,
Like, man, it is right at my heels.
yeah. It's fun because it's like when you were there and all the drama and stuff you thought was so important.
So important.
You're like, oh man, I can't get on that show that's in the basement of a bar. And
Yeah, Joni hates Chachi, and
oh,
and are these current references? Am I doing
yeah,
good?
that's doing Kramer's.
Where's the beef?
Where's the beef?
I'm just trying to stay.
No, I get it, man. That's great. Uh, so when you're first starting, as most comics are, you're so desperate for stage time that you just take anything.
Right.
Do you have anything that comes to mind early on in your career? Just shows looking back you wouldn't take now.
Yeah. I had a couple, like in Syracuse. It was like when you start, like you said, you're desperate for stage time, but in Syracuse, you're always desperate for stage time because there's not much,
Right.
and there was only the club. So me and my buddies, we got offered to run a show at a local Buffalo Wild Wings.
Oh, good. Which is the perfect place for
Right.
comedy.
There's nothing there that can distract you, like a wall of TVs no matter where you look. I'm pretty sure there's a screen in each urinal. And
It's like eating inside a virtual reality headset. It's just everywhere you look, there are screens.
it was crazy. So we did obviously one show, and that was it.
There wasn't more.
No, no, surprisingly not. Um, and the stage, I swear to God, so that, Buffalo Wild Wings, they had those giant square bars
Yeah,
and this booths, so the seating sucked.
right. Half the audience has their back towards you.
Yes. And they're trying to get pretzel rods. They're not trying to get.
Right. They're like, how hot are the flaming hot? Are they very
Yeah,
hot or
they're signing the waiver for the
right?
the atomic wing.
They're trying to get their picture on the wall.
They got those. I remember doing comedy, and somebody had ordered the beer tube.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's hard enough in a club with like silverware clinking and people chatting. Now to add like
yeah.
every NCAA game and a meter of beer or whatever it is, you know.
And thank God they're not eating food that affects their temperature, and therefore their face.
Right? Yeah. I was like,
Did I say something offensive?
yeah, everybody looks so upset.
And we stood. The only place we could perform was underneath another TV screen.
So, first of all, whose idea was it to book it? Was it Buffalo Wild Wings' idea?
It was someone from Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm sure they're fired. I think they approached me or another buddy of mine, and I knew it was gonna suck, but it's like I want to also get up.
Right.
So we did it, but it was rough. And I remember that one of the people that showed up to watch was a guy that was already trying to book me for to MC a a jazz show in a local theater, and I think it was for charity or something, and I think there was an auction part in it. I'm not sure, but I had to go up and do stand up and bring up these jazz bands.
Wait, so did the guy that booked you for that, he came to watch you at Buffalo Wild Wings?
He came to watch me at Buffalo Wild Wings but he was already talking to me about booking me for this show.
So were you nervous at Buffalo Wild Wings? You're like, I hope this Wild Wings show goes good because I'm going to lose that jazz gig.
It was a gig both of them I didn't want to do. Right. So it was, which I know, and like for anyone that's listening that's just starting out, you want to do everything. But there's also like, which I'm sure is brought up a lot in this show, there's these shows that you do where there's no way you're going to win.
Right.
It just doesn't work. There's not comedy compression, like low ceilings, tight room. They it's Buffalo Wild Wings. They're not going to turn the TVs off. They just had them muted. So I had to hope that my writing was better than like the animation of the Geico gecko behind me or whatever the hell was going on.
How did that show go?
Buffalo Wild Wings?
Yeah.
It was the best set I've ever had. Actually, two school buses of college teams came and they all brought their own chairs and set up.
They loved it. I really enjoyed my take on the mozzarella wheels as they were going past. Whoa, those look hot.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't remember anyone doing well. It did not go well, but even then, like you see people laughing, but it's not enough when it's
right
that much going on. But it didn't work. It was horrible. But then that guy that showed up for the jazz show, still booked me after watching that. I go to do this jazz show in this local theater in Syracuse, and it's a theater. So, I don't know, maybe seats, let's say 1,200 people at the least. 12 people show up. 12.
It's a lot. Don't empty chairs.
And they don't sit together.
Of course.
So you got 2 over there, 1 up there, 3 in the back, and my dad and my girlfriend at the time came. And I was like, this is going to be the worst. And I remember at a certain point, I was like, I don't care anymore. And I go, hey, I got a jazz joke for you.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And I go, skibbity bop boopity bop boop boop. And that's it. I had hit a wall, and it was like I was just gonna make myself laugh. And I
It's one
thought,
of those moments where if you're another comic or like a loved one, you're just like, someone's gonna have to talk to him after this. I don't think he's okay.
but I remember my dad and girlfriend were dying
I'm
laughing,
sure.
and I thought it was hilarious. Dead silence.
Well, it's also like even if all 12 people are laughing in a room that seats that many people.
It was the most beautiful place I've ever wanted to end my life. It was.
So wait, so you have to go bring on. So I need a little more backstory here. So you're like, all right, big theater. Are you nervous beforehand?
I'm nervous beforehand because I see no one's there.
Okay.
I might have been just getting into theaters at the time, but I don't. Looking back, I was only nervous when I saw how little people there were, and I was the MC. I knew how many times I was have to go back up there,
Right.
and
How long was the show?
too long. I don't know. Maybe not. I blacked it out. I don't remember. All I remember is the jazz joke. I don't remember any other jokes I told.
Did the guy that booked you, was he like, hey, great job?
I don't even think he came. I don't even think he was one of the 12.
Oh, I hope you got paid well for that at least.
I don't remember. That's the thing. I was like, with me is the money is not in my mind. When in a show like that, my mind is, let's get out of here and let's have a good set now. That's all I think about after a show like that. But at the time, you probably could have paid me nothing because
Right.
it's all I
That's
had.
the thing when you're so fresh, you're like you're willing to drive hours to lose money and do 5 minutes and then you're just crushed. You're like most
Yeah.
of the time you don't feel good about it after.
Yeah. And then I did this one show in Camillus, which is about 40 minutes from where I lived. And it was me and my 3 closest comedy friends and this new guy that was really good hosting. We show up and it's a sports bar and it was being promoted all over the place and all the time. So I'm like, oh, this will be fun. Good lineup. Gonna be a good time. Get there. It is absolutely packed. But
They're not there for the show.
don't think they're there for the show.
Oh no.
I'm talking wall to wall people, the loudest talking you've ever heard in your life. And the TVs are all on. The host goes up, he starts talking, you can't hear him over the people.
Oh my God.
That's how loud it is.
And that is that is a no-win spot to have to go up and wrangle the attention of a bar full of people. I mean, I've been in that seat and it is just dead on arrival.
It was it's the name of my album, but that's it's crazy. We get there and I'm already laughing. Like I don't know what this is. I don't know if it's self-hatred or just this psychotic part of me that when something's that bad, I find it absolutely hilarious.
Yeah.
So I walk in and you can't hear the person next to you. It's that yell, like that yell talking during like a concert or something.
Right.
That's what it is, like in a nightclub.
I think we should get more beer. It's like I can't hear either.
I like that premise.
Right.
And so I'm like, all right, and I'm closing the show.
Okay.
And I get up there, and I just remember it being absolutely hilarious. And I'm making fun of how no one can hear me, and it's this crazy experience where there's so many. You want that many people at your show, but you don't think of how it can be bad. And now you have to scan the audience to find someone who's looking at you. and then you just got to bounce between those 4 tables, and then no one's sitting; they're all standing, drinking, getting more beers and whatever. I sounded real old.
They're all just drinking
They're drinking and they're chatting, and the music
is too loud. Oh God.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's horrible. It's and people were like, when you complain about some of these shows, like, what, it sounds great. Why would that be bad? A bar full of people having fun? It's
Yeah.
like, you don't get it. That that's why sometimes when you tell someone like, oh, there was only 20 people at the show, I'm like, oh, that's a bummer. It's like, actually, it was great
Yeah.
because they all wanted to be there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You'd
much rather have a small group of people that want to be there than hundreds of people that are just surprised the comedy is happening.
I think the ideal comedy show is a small room with no distractions, maybe even a BYOB situation. Just almost now, like, just to make it this almost like a prohibition comedy show, a underground thing, just secret, and then just hit them with the jokes. Like, that's why that I didn't do comedy clubs much starting. I only did the one club, but every other show I did was like at an Elks Lodge or something where you're performing next to a buffet, and it's crazy.
But those shows, I feel like, because I started in a similar position, where there's one club in the city and you're fighting tooth and nail to get in there.
Yeah.
Every other weekend you're doing fire halls and VFWs and churches and
right.
But I think they make you a better comic down the road, because then when you get your hands on an audience that wants to be there, you're like, this is great.
I did a full huge room on a Valentine's Day show, and I was the host, and the guy that was bringing me on goes up, grabs the mic, is talking to the mic, and the mic cuts out and stops, and he looks at it, flicks the switch on and off, and goes, hello, and it doesn't work, and he goes, all right, Steven Rogers, and just brings me up. And I had to do 15 minutes screaming to a full room, because what am I going to do, run over and try to
push mics? Yeah, right. It's great, and people don't get that. People don't get that, like, when they're so many times comedy is booked without more than a thought, and they're just like, we'll just have a comedy show, that'll be fun. It's like,
we're definitely the least respected entertainment form whatsoever. I think rodeo clowns get more of a setup than stand-up comics.
Yeah, because they're at least, like, there has to be like somebody with a gun there to, like, shoot the bull if it goes crazy. No one's there to shoot a heckler or shoot the comic if they're dying.
You don't see a rodeo clown coming home going, oh, it was awful, there's so many people, they couldn't hear me.
They couldn't see me. They couldn't see the smile I painted on my face. They thought I was a sad clown. I'm supposed to be a happy clown. It's horrible. Someone brought me on stage once. They go, all right, we're gonna start the show here. We're gonna do a little comedy for you. What do you say, Connor? You ready to do some comedy? And come on up here. And, like, I had jokes about my name being Collin, because I was very new. But
when I started, I had jokes about your name being Collin. So
I will cut that out. But it's like, what are you gonna do? I know, though, that we have time for this, yeah. So I know that you have another story that I'd like to ask you about that I heard through your girlfriend.
Oh, God.
So
That one I wasn't gonna tell because of her getting to it.
I want to hear your perspective though.
All right. Do we have time for two more?
We have time for two more.
Okay. I'll tell you that one, and then I'll tell you a Regan gig one.
Oh, fun.
Uh, so this is in So the one with Kate was we were in Norwich, New York, and the guy that booked it has had me on shows before, and they've been good. And we did one with me and her before. And we get there, and it's a lot of people, and it's in the Elks Lodge. But at that point, I had gone through all the ones that we talked about, so I did feel like a better comic. I did feel like, okay, I can handle. I've done these before.
You start
And,
to look at those gigs and like, oh, this is great. This
yeah, hit them with jokes.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in the back, and the guy that had booked us had seen a sketch that me and Caitlin had done, and he was talking to us about that. And I'm like, oh, they're like excited. And host goes up and eats it for 5 minutes, and I'm like, okay, maybe by the time I get up there, I might have to do a little bit of warming them up, but that's about it.
You're confident in your abilities as a comedian, you know?
Which is, you know this about me, which is very rare.
It's rare.
It's very rare for me to feel that way. And I'm like, I can handle it. I'll just hit them up front with maybe I'll do some of my late night jokes, get them worked up, and then I'll do a lot of my newer, better stuff. Burn through the Colbert. I would have thought I lit a piece of paper. It just gone, and I'm like, okay.
Like minute and a half.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, Christ.
There's a guy to my right that won't shut up, and he's making noises like he hates me. He's like, and he's like heckling, but I'm like, don't have enough time for this guy. Got to get these people laughing. You can't get in a fight you can't get in a verbal sparring match with a guy when the audience isn't even on your side yet.
Right.
So I'm doing jokes and trying to hit them as much as I can. Nothing, just nothing. My roommate's parents are there, and I'm like, God, that's gonna get back, and they're gonna kick me out of the place, and it's gonna be awkward every time I go to the bathroom. Like it's just, and then I see I'm doing some jokes, and this woman corrects me or something. I think I was talking about my family or something, or relationships or something, because I saw that she was with her husband, and I was doing crowd work with them. I'm like, okay, maybe this crowd wants crowd work, because a lot of these Elks Lodges want to just be made fun of.
Right. And it's always so satisfying, that moment when you think, now I know what they want and this will all change.
Yeah, well, they hated that, and I didn't know what they wanted me to do. If they wanted me to take the bowl of gravy and put it on my head, and then like put each candle in an orifice, I couldn't tell what they wanted. I tried everything, and I'm looking at Caitlin, dying laughing. She's slapping the table. She's doing cartwheels. Like she's having the time of her life back there. I'm sweating. I'm not a sweater. I'm a human. I'm not a garment. I'm just eating it. I don't even know what I closed on. I was like, but I remember this is the kind of thing where I was like, I had to do 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm hitting them with jokes, trying my damnedest. And I look at my phone, and I'm sticking to the time. And I'm like, let's do it. Let's see how long I can do just jokes. So maybe I did a minute of me trying to get them to see if they'd like crowd work. And I just hit them with jokes, and I did the 45. So I remember getting off being like, this is the most progress I've ever made as a comedian, but this was the worst show of my life. It was the worst, the absolute worst.
I know you're a comedian and Cars fan,
Yeah.
And I think it was Steve Martin has the thing of like, he's on stage and he's like 20 minutes in and he's realizing he hasn't gotten one laugh. He's like, well, let's just go for the record. Let's do the full hour, no laughs.
Yeah.
And there is something almost in the moment, it's soul crushing. And there's nothing quite worse than the drive back, especially if it's a long drive, or a long train ride back to your house or your hotel after a bad show. There's usually a stop at some sort of fast food place,
Yeah.
some sort of vice.
What we did was we wanted to get, and I'm not a big drinker. We wanted to get drunk after that, but we didn't. And oh man, I'm forgetting stuff. During Caitlin's set, they're up there. She might have told you this. A woman had gotten up, and walked over to the host and demanded her money back, saying it was the worst show she's ever seen. She hasn't had a single laugh. And I'm just sitting there, like hey, remember me? And I just remember wanting to go over to her and talk to her, but I wish I did. I didn't want to like yell at her or anything, but I kind of wanted to just get to know that person.
Right.
At that point, I had done television. I opened for this guy. I had enough things that people have to remind me when I hate myself and my abilities. And I remember that's the only time I was confident was when these people wouldn't laugh, and that woman said that. So after that, we go get to go to a bar, but we're like, we're going to run into the people from the show. So we go to this other bar in walking distance and just get trashed and laughed at how horrible it was. It was the most bonding experience.
Yeah, there's nothing quite like being in the trenches with another comic like that'll bring you together.
Yeah.
Because only the people there can really experience it. Even if you're talking to another comic, they know what it's like, but to be there and to be dying on stage, small group of people in that club,
it was crazy. I think I'm gonna name my kid Norwich.
just in spite,
so I never forget.
God. Now you got the Regan one?
I got the Regan one.
Okay.
So have you ever done you've done theater in the round?
Yeah.
My first time ever doing it.
Yeah.
Was it in Massachusetts? I was opening for Brian Regan for a weekend. 2 of the shows we were going to do were theater in the round.
Right.
First night we do it. Best set of my life.
It's amazing.
I was getting ready for my late night appearance, so I open with the late night, and I'm moving around, and I'm having the best time doing comedy ever.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what I want to do. If I could do theater in the round every show, I would. I loved it so much. So the second night comes.
And you're setting yourself up so perfectly, because that feeling that you're having is so relatable, of like, you kill.
Yeah.
Like this, it's the same circumstances.
Yes.
I am so funny. Like, you're like, all of those times where I doubted myself, this is it. This is the moment it pays off.
Yeah.
Here I come, world.
So I get it. I think we're in a town 40 minutes away.
Yeah.
From the last night. Something like that. We're not in a different time zone. There's not a different leader of this place. It's the same.
In the same zip code, honestly. I mean, it's
same zip code, same language, everything, same temperature.
Right.
It was crazy.
Right.
I get in there, I go up, and I'm doing fine, and I do a joke about I have an indent in my chest.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody yells, "Take your shirt off." And I'm like, I don't know if I did a line or not. I'm opening for Brian Regan. If you don't know, he's clean. I'm thankfully clean,
Yep.
but also we're both nice guys on stage. We don't really get into battles with the audience. Also, it's a theater, so you don't really want to do crowd work because not everyone can.
And nor should you. And
Yeah,
like most of the time, it's known that in a theater you won't interrupt.
right. So, but this is a tent. I should mention this is a tent outside.
Okay,
It's
that's very important.
made into a theater. But the night before was also that.
Okay.
So it's theater in the round. They're all around me. I don't know where that came from, but I probably did a line and went back into my jokes.
The funniest thing is that you don't know where the line comes from. It's like
I don't know where it was like a sniper.
right, you're like JFK. You're like, is it on the grassy knoll? Did it come from the window?
It really felt like that because the way my head flipped when he said it. And I do most of my set in a convertible, but so I think I go, and I'm in my chunk about working out and my body anxieties, and I think I do another joke about working out, and they might have said, "Take your shirt off again." And I think I did. At that point, I probably would have said something.
Yeah.
And keep going, do my set. I think I've recovered. I'm doing all right. And then I do my lifeguarding chunk, and somebody yells, "Somebody different." There's a second shooter. Somebody different
You sound
yells.
like Cyril Weck. Like he has the whole thing. There was multiple shooters.
I'm telling you, there's a board in my basement with yarn and pictures, layout of the theater. I get in my lifeguarding stuff. Somebody yells, "Take your shirt off," and the place goes nuts. They just die laughing. I think he got an applause break.
Oh my God.
And I think at that point I said something. No, I think I got an applause break. I think I said something and then got something. They loved that moment so much. And then I kept going. At this point, I hated every single person in there. I hated their guts. And it's not fair. It's only two people, but it's like, I don't know who it is. So I finally wrap up. I get off covered in sweat. And I go up to there's an intermission. So I go up to the tour manager. And I'm like, I got to talk to Brian and warn him. There's hecklers, more than one. And I'm telling the security, it felt like two shooters. I was talking to all the security. They're like, "Where do you think it came from?" And I come in there and I'm like, "Maybe there," and all that. So I go in and tell Brian, and Brian's like, "I'm so sorry you had to deal with that. Hopefully we don't have to deal with that for the rest of the show." I go up after the intermission. I do a little bit of time before I bring up Brian. Soon as I hit the stage, they're, "Take your shirt off, take your shirt off, I'm like, and I had gotten tweets from during the intermission of people tweeting it at me.
Oh my God. You're getting heckled by Twitter live. You're live heckling the Twitter.
Yeah. And that makes sense because I wanted to retweet. I'm so sorry. Please remove that.
It's staying in. Oh boy.
And then Brian went up and did most of his set, and someone had yelled it. He did, like, let's say he did 40 minutes of an hour. One person yelled it during his set. And he handled it. I won't even try to do it justice. He handled a heckler better than I've ever seen a comic do it. And it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. There's no way to make it, for me to say it and for it to come across. Right. But that's when I was like, you know what? I'm so glad I shared this night with this man.
Yeah, at least you can get a little bit of a nugget out of it.
Yeah, yeah. It was amazing to watch, and it was also fun. It was like the comedy, like it was like your captain coming to the rookie's aid.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're getting pummeled, and finally they bring in reinforcements.
Yeah, it was the cavalry had shown up, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I was in the back. I swear to God, it's this giant tent. So I was in the back going, yeah, yeah. I was so excited. It was amazing.
Oh man,
Yeah,
what a great moment to have, especially as a younger comedian to feel it, experience it, get hurt by it, but then see how you can make it better.
yeah. It was a wonderful experience, and that's the thing. Like with those shows, is you remember them and learn more from them than when you kill.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny because in the moment, you don't have the foresight to be like, well, this will be a great story most of the
Yeah,
time. You're just like, I think my career is over.
yeah,
No matter how small the show is or how big it is, if it hurts, it hurts. And
yeah.
then, usually after some time passes, you can actually, that wasn't that bad. There's
Right.
worse shows.
I remember I've heard this quote from the comedian Bob Marley. He said, I think he and the two other comics, they did a show at a club. They all murdered, and they all get in the green room after, and Bob Marley sits down and goes, well, none of us got any better tonight.
That's
And
cool.
I always think about that.
Yeah.
So helpful.
So it's so true too. It's like you need those experiences to teach you.
Yeah.
Well, I can't think of a better place to leave it, Stephen. Please tell the people, tell my dad who's listening, tell them where to find your podcast and where to find your dates and where to find you on social media.
So I have a podcast called Panic Attacking that comes out every Monday. You can find that anywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes. It's also on my website, Stephen Rogers Comedy, which also has my dates. And my Instagram and Twitter is at not Steve Rogers. And that's about it. And I'm on, if you want to watch my Colbert, it's on YouTube.
All right, that's enough plugging. All right, we'll cut that out. Thanks for doing this, buddy.
Thanks for having me, buddy.